Warning! The vlog video contains major spoilers on who rejoins Inanimate Insanity Invitational. I repeat, spoiler alert on the final rejoin of Triple I. If you haven't seen episodes 15 and 16, please check them out and come back later. But if you've already seen them or you just don't care about spoilers, then we may proceed. These episodes are called Blueberried and The Great Bluish Bake Off, and already those names give away what these episodes are about specifically. But I'm not telling who got eliminated in these episodes. So in episode 15, the Indefinite Island contestants consisting of Life Ring, Blueberry, Candle, Tea Kettle, Goo, Test Tube, and Bot going back to MePhone to compete in the final rejoin competition. But once they made it to a shore, they discover that Blueberry is dead on the ground, and that means somebody killed him. And that's where the final rejoin challenge comes in. For this competition, the eliminated contestants will compete with the final 5 to figure out who killed Blueberry. The first team to solve the mystery not only receives immunity, but the eliminated contestant will rejoin Inanimate Insanity Invitational. The losing eliminated players will all go home, but they, alongside the other players that have already left the game, will come back to the finale to help decide the winner. But there are 2 catches with this competition. The Floor, since he never actually stayed on Indefinite Island, he is not eligible to compete. But all of a sudden, Clover came back to the island. It turns out she actually came back to the island because she was busy on a little project, but that's another story. Even though she didn't stay on Indefinite Island, she did use her luck to participate in the rejoin challenge. She only came here just so she could do some fun detective skills and to wear the hat. Now, when it comes to the mystery challenge, I already figured out who actually killed Blueberry, even before it actually became a challenge. It's just that there was no actual motive on why someone would kill Blueberry, even if it's for a rejoin competition. When you look at the eliminated contestants that were competing for another chance, they're all sweethearts. They wouldn't hurt a fly. The same thing can be said about the final 5. We get an idea that Yang might have killed Blueberry behind Ying's back, but that would raise more questions than answers, like, how would he kill Blueberry without Ying noticing? He didn't take a day off like last episode. Even with the clues left on the floor, they still raise more questions than answers to narrow down the options. And that's why it can only be one person. The one person that nobody ever considered who actually killed Blueberry. But before I can reveal who done it, I will admit this competition was worth the time to investigate because we get to see some interactions between the eliminated contestants and the final 5. My personal favorite team up is with Nickel and Clover. Something tells me that either Nickel is so unlucky that he gets Clover as a partner, or Clover just uses her own luck so she can team up with Nickel. And unlike their previous interactions where Nickel blames Clover and her luck on everything, in this one they actually talk to each other. Clover actually helped Nickel to come to his senses about this whole luck paranoia. She stated during her elimination she gave away some of her luck to Nickel so he can use it for good and to share the wealth. And during this episode, Clover actually used her luck for good, where she actually uses it to talk to Nickel just so she can help him fix his complicated relationship with Balloon. She even gives him a therapy section, and trust me, Nickel definitely needed that. I also like the interactions between Silver Spoon and Candle and Test Tube and Bot. With Silver Spoon and Candle, they actually tried to retrace Blueberry's death to figure out who killed him, and that's an interesting strategy. And it's also really interesting that Silver Spoon is trying to play the game his way and not Candle's way. And with Test Tube and Bot, they actually had an honest talk about Cabby and her files, where Bot explains to Test Tube that Cabby uses her files not only to understand everyone, but to remember as well. And there's even a nice scene where Cabby actually double checks on Bot to make sure if it's okay if she can use her own files for help. And with that investigation and double check, I feel like Test Tube and Cabby might be on good terms after all. Now when it comes to the big reveal, even though I kinda already figured out who killed Blueberry, but with the execution on why the killer actually did it, it already grabbed me. So of course there was no legit options on who actually did it. Blueberry actually killed Blueberry all by himself. And the reason why he did it is just so he can make a challenge that he would never lose. Because he played the victim, and he also played the killer as well. He knew from the exact moment that MePhone would create a challenge based off a personal problem, which he kinda does that from his past episodes, like the camera challenge, the try not to laugh challenge, and a few others. He used Candle's meditation to fool everyone that he wasn't breathing, but before he could lie on the ground, he put in a few red herrings to pull everyone off guard. but the way he explained and crafted the plan altogether, he had the personality of a mastermind that he created a challenge that nobody could solve. This was an episode that made me think I underestimated Blueberry's competitive nature. So of course, Blueberry rejoins the competition because nobody else could have solved his murder. But even after he rejoins the competition, he played a really smart move on voting out the most competitive threat left in the game. So even though I kinda guessed who done it, it was still worth the investigation with the execution and the character interactions. Now for the 16th episode, The Great Bluish Bake Off, the final 5 will compete in a baking competition. Whoever bakes the best recipe for MePhone wins immunity, guarantees a 1-4 shot into the finale. Sounds simple, sure, but there's actually more to it than that. After they got their recipes, they must cross the desert for 100 miles and get to their ovens to bake the recipe. Oh, and one oven is ready, but the rest are warming up for the next few hours or so. And the reason why they're warming up so slow is because MePhone is trying to make the competition last a little bit longer. And already based off the desert and the slow making ovens, you can tell something is up with MePhone. It's almost like he doesn't want Season 3 to end so soon. Even the floor is suspicious on what he's doing. I get Inanimate Insanity is considered his life's work, and I am enjoying the show. It's just that Inanimate Insanity Season 3 has to end because we're down to the final 5, and sooner or later somebody has to be crowned a winner. It's almost like MePhone doesn't want everyone to leave, even though that's part of the reality competition. Once you're voted off, and once the show is over and they crown a winner, everybody has to go home with their friends and family. But what I really enjoy about the competition is not really the bake-off, but more like the journey to the bake-off, where the final 5 had to figure out multiple ways on how to cross the desert without wasting so much precious time. The only flaw I have with the episode is that there's a side plot going on where the final 4 are trying to get Blueberry's vote to guarantee their alliance's safety. And when you have a contestant that's playing both sides, they're more of a competitive threat than anyone else left in the game. And that's what happened in this episode. Blueberry ditched the final 4 by using a hot air balloon to get to the ovens, leaving the final 4 all by themselves in the desert. So the final 4 decide to team up to take down that Blueberry. But the episode does make up for it where Blueberry actually has his own character arc, and it turns out he became super strong since the last time, and that's because he's been doing some training on a different island, doing some push-ups, and keeping a distance from the eliminated contestants. But even after he personally achieved his own goal on being left alone, there's still this one side of him that actually wants to hang out with other people. But he can't help but wonder if that loneliness goal was even worth it, or it was all for nothing. And you know what they say, it's so lonely being at the top. And whenever the 4 remaining contestants tried to cross the desert, they did came up with multiple ways on how to get to the ovens faster. And they actually bump into a familiar face that I haven't seen in a while, and it's Tyler Bombard. And in case you're wondering who Tyler is, it's that desert monster that appeared in the Desert Challenge from Season 1. In this episode, he's staying on the island as vacation home, and it turns out there's actually more depth to him than there was in Season 1. In this one, he's more like a gentle giant, and he actually wants to help people. Tyler is like Krang from the Ninja Turtles if he was a nice person. It was a really good reunion like the last Rejoin episode. And those are my thoughts on Inanimate Insanity Invitational episodes 15 and 16. We are down to the final 4, who will have a 1 1/3 shot on making it to the finale, and will MePhone ever accept the inevitable that Season 3 is coming to an end? Find out next time on Inanimate Insanity Invitational.